The exploration vessel Nova Horizon drifted through the silent expanse of space, its sleek, silver hull reflecting the distant starlight. Captain Aria Voss sat in the command chair, her eyes focused on the holographic star map before her. The crew, a diverse mix of humans from various Earth nations, had been tasked with charting uncharted regions of the galaxy and making contact with new civilizations. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," the communications officer, Lieutenant Zarapatul, reported. "It's coming from an uncharted planet in the Zeta Quadrant." Aria leaned forward, studying the planetary readouts. "Any signs of life or civilization?" The science officer, Dr. Liam Nakamura, shook his head. "Minimal biosignatures, but there are traces of artificial structures on the surface. It appears to be the ruins of an ancient civilization." Intrigued, Aria made the decision to investigate. "Set a course for the planet. Let's find out who's sending that distress call." As the Nova Horizon descended through the planet's atmosphere, the crew marveled at the lush, verdant landscape that stretched out beneath them. Towering trees with iridescent leaves swayed in the gentle breeze, while strange, bioluminescent flora carpeted the ground. The distress signal led them to a clearing amidst the dense foliage. In the center, they found a shocking sight, a wounded alien creature unlike anything they had encountered before. Its body was sleek and muscular, covered in shimmering scales that shifted colors in the dappled sunlight. Intelligent, golden eyes watched them warily as they approached. Dr. Nakamura quickly assessed the creature's injuries, which appeared to be severe. "It's sentient, Captain, and it's in critical condition. We need to act fast if we want to save it." Aria hesitated for a moment, weighing the risks and unknowns. But the pleading look in the alien's eyes and the crew's sense of compassion won out. "Prepare the medical bay. We're bringing it on board. We'll do whatever we can to help." As they carefully transported the injured alien to the Nova Horizon, little did they know that their decision to help would set them on a path that would change the course of their mission and the fate of the galaxy itself. Connection. In the medical bay of the Nova Horizon, Dr. Nakamura and his team worked tirelessly to stabilize the alien creature. Its injuries were extensive, and its physiology was unlike anything they had encountered before. But with the help of advanced medical technology and their own ingenuity, they managed to keep it alive. As the alien regained consciousness, something extraordinary happened. The crew began to hear a voice in their minds, a gentle, melodic presence that spoke without words. It was the alien, communicating through telepathy. "Thank you for saving me," the voice said, filled with gratitude and relief. "My name is Lyra. I am a Zephyrian, the last of my kind." Captain Aria Voss, who had been observing the medical team's progress, stepped forward. "I am Captain Aria Voss of the Nova Horizon. We're here to help, Lyra. Can you tell us what happened to you and your people?" Through a series of vivid mental images and emotions, Lyra shared the tragic history of the Zephyrians. They had been a thriving, peaceful civilization, advanced in the arts and sciences, but their way of life was shattered when a hostile alien race, the Vortex, invaded their world. The Vortex were a conquering force, driven by an insatiable hunger for resources and power. They attacked without warning or mercy, unleashing devastating weapons that reduced the Zephyrian cities to ruins. Despite their advanced technology and abilities, the Zephyrians were no match for the Vortex's brutal onslaught. Lyra's mental voice trembled as she recounted the final days of her civilization. "We fought back with everything we had, but it wasn't enough. The Vortex wiped out our cities, our people, our entire way of life. I managed to escape in a small craft, but was pursued and crashed on this planet. I thought I would die here, alone and forgotten." The crew listened in horror and sympathy as Lyra's story unfolded. They could feel her grief and despair as if it were their own, the telepathic connection amplifying the emotion. Dr. Nakamura placed a comforting hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You're not alone anymore, Lyra. We're here for you." Captain Voss nodded in agreement. The Nova Horizon and her crew will do everything in our power to help you and bring the Vortex to justice. They cannot be allowed to continue their reign of terror unchallenged." As Lyra looked around at the faces of the crew, she felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in ages. In these strangers from another world, she had found not just allies, but friends. Together, they would stand against the darkness that threatened to consume the galaxy. Revelations. As Lyra recovered under Dr. Nakamura's care, she shared more about the Vortex and their relentless conquest of the galaxy. The crew listened intently, their faces growing more somber with each revelation. "The Vortex are not satisfied with merely conquering worlds," Lyra explained, her telepathic voice tinged with a mixture of fear and anger. "They seek to eradicate any species they deem a potential threat to their dominance. The Zephyrians were just one of many civilizations they have destroyed." Captain Voss leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "But why? What drives them to such cruelty?" Lyra's mental presence darkened. Power. Control. They believe that they are the rightful rulers of the galaxy, and that all other species must either serve them or be eliminated. They will not stop until every star system is under their command. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of this knowledge settling heavily upon them. They had always known that the galaxy was a dangerous place, but the Vortex represented a threat beyond anything they had ever faced. Lieutenant Patel, the communications officer, spoke up. "By helping Lyra, we may have drawn the attention of the Vortex. They could be tracking us even now." Dr. Nakamura nodded grimly. "We need to be prepared for the possibility of an attack. The Vortex will stop at nothing to capture or kill the last Zephyrian." As the crew discussed their next move, Lyra closed her eyes, reaching out with her telepathic senses. She had been trained as a scout in the Zephyrian military, and her abilities allowed her to detect distant threats. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, wide with terror. "They're coming. The Vortex have found us." Captain Voss sprang into action, her voice ringing out across the ship's intercom. "All hands to battle stations. Prepare for incoming hostiles." The Nova Horizon crew scrambled to their posts, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination. They had sworn to protect Lyra, and they would not fail her now. As the first Vortex ships appeared on the long-range scanners, Captain Voss turned to Lyra, her eyes blazing with resolve. "We stand with you, Lyra. The Vortex may have taken your home and your people, but they will not take your future. We fight together." Lyra nodded, her own resolve strengthening in the face of her newfound allies. Together, they would face the oncoming storm and fight for the fate of the galaxy. Pursuit. The Vortex ships descended upon the Nova Horizon like a swarm of angry hornets, their sleek, black hulls bristling with weapons. The crew of the human vessel scrambled to raise shields and power up their own defenses, but they knew they were outmatched. "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Voss ordered, her voice tense but controlled. "We need to get out of their range and jump to hyperspace." The Nova Horizon's pilot, Ensign Alex Morales, deftly guided the ship through a series of twists and turns, dodging the Vortex's relentless fire. But the enemy was fast and numerous, and the Nova Horizon's shields were taking a beating. Lyra, now fully healed and integrated with the crew, rushed to the engineering section. Her knowledge of advanced Zephyrian technology could be the key to their survival. "I can boost our shield strength and give us a chance to escape," she said, her mental voice filled with urgency. "But I need access to your power core." Chief Engineer Kira Sato nodded, sweat beading on her brow as she worked to keep the ship's systems from overloading. "Do what you need to do, Lyra. We trust you." As Lyra interfaced with the Nova Horizon systems, her telepathic abilities merging with the ship's computers, the Vortex's onslaught intensified. Explosions rocked the hull, and warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Shields at 20%. Lieutenant Patel reported, her hands flying across her console. "We can't take much more of this." At that moment, Lyra's enhancements kicked in. The Nova Horizon's shields flared to life, glowing with a brilliant iridescent light. The Vortex's weapons fire, once devastating, now bounced harmlessly off the reinforced barriers. Incredible, Dr. Nakamura exclaimed, monitoring the ship's readouts. Lyra's modifications have increased our shield strength tenfold. With renewed hope, Captain Voss gave the order to make the jump to hyperspace. The stars stretched into glowing lines as the Nova Horizon surged forward, leaving the frustrated Vortex behind. But their relief was short-lived. As they emerged from hyperspace in a distant star system, the long-range scanners picked up a disturbing sight: a massive Vortex fleet waiting for them. They predicted our jump coordinates, Ensign Morel said, his face pale. They must have tracked our hyperspace vector. Captain Voss gritted her teeth, weighing their options. They couldn't outrun the Vortex forever, and their chances of winning a direct confrontation were slim. Lyra's mental voice cut through the tense silence. There may be a way. I know of a hidden outpost, a sanctuary for those fleeing the Vortex's tyranny. If we can reach it, we may find allies and a chance to fight back. Captain Voss met Lyra's gaze, seeing the determination and hope in her golden eyes. She nodded, making her decision. Set a course for the outpost. We'll take our chances there. Anything is better than facing the Vortex alone. As the Nova Horizon made its desperate run, the crew and Lyra prepared themselves for the challenges ahead. They had become more than just a ship and its passengers. They were a family, united in their fight against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Sanctuary. The Nova Horizon emerged from hyperspace on the outskirts of a remote, uncharted system. Before them lay a small, unassuming planet, its surface a patchwork of mottled greens and browns. Are you sure this is the right place? Captain Voss asked, her eyes scanning the unremarkable world skeptically. Lyra nodded, her mental presence radiating certainty. The Zephyrians helped establish this outpost long ago, along with other species who had been victimized by the Vortex. It is a closely guarded secret, known only to those who have earned the trust of the Resistance. As they approached the planet, a hidden defense network suddenly sprang to life. Cloaked satellites and orbital platforms shimmered into view, their weapons systems locking onto the Nova Horizon. Unidentified vessel, state your purpose or be destroyed. A gruff voice crackled over the comm system. Lyra stepped forward, her telepathic voice reaching out to the unseen speaker. I am Lyra of the Zephyrians, and I come with allies seeking sanctuary from the Vortex. There was a tense pause, and then the voice responded, its tone softening. Welcome, Lyra of the Zephyrians. You and your companions may proceed to the surface. Transmitting landing coordinates now. The Nova Horizon descended through the planet's atmosphere, touching down on a hidden landing pad nestled within a dense forest. As the crew disembarked, they were greeted by a delegation of representatives from various species, each bearing the scars of their own encounters with the Vortex. Among them was a tall, slender being with luminous, purple skin and piercing silver eyes. It stepped forward, bowing its head in respect. I am Zarin, leader of the Thalian refugees. We have heard of your bravery in rescuing Lyra and defying the Vortex. You are welcome here, among friends. Captain Voss returned the bow, her voice filled with gratitude and relief. Thank you, Zarin. We are honored to be here and to join you in your fight against the Vortex. As the crew of the Nova Horizon settled into the outpost, they quickly learned that they were not alone in their struggle. The sanctuary was home to a diverse array of species, each with its own tale of loss and resilience in the face of Vortex aggression. Lyra found solace in connecting with other survivors, sharing her experience and learning from their own. The crew, too, forged bonds with their new allies, exchanging knowledge and resources in preparation for the battles to come. But even as they planned and trained, the specter of the Vortex loomed large. It was only a matter of time before their enemy would discover the outpost and bring the full force of their wrath upon them. That moment came sooner than any of them expected. Alarms blared throughout the outpost as long-range sensors detected a massive vortex fleet entering the system, their weapons primed and ready. Zaren's face was grim as he addressed the gathered allies. "They have found us. The time has come to stand together and fight for our survival, our freedom." Captain Voss stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "The Nova Horizon and her crew stand with you, Zaren. We will not let the vortex take this sanctuary or any other. Today, we fight as one." As the outpost prepared for the imminent siege, the crew of the Nova Horizon and Lyra took their places alongside their new comrades. They had come seeking refuge, but now they had found something more, a cause worth fighting for, and a family forged in the crucible of adversity. Counterattack. The Vortex fleet descended upon the outpost like a swarm of locusts, their ships darkening the sky, and their weapons raining destruction upon the hidden sanctuary. But the defenders were ready, united in their resolve to stand against the tyranny of their oppressors. The Nova Horizon took to the skies, joining a ragtag fleet of ships from the various species who had taken refuge at the outpost. Captain Voss stood on the bridge, her eyes narrowed as she surveyed the battlefield. "We need to take out their command ship," she said, her voice tense but determined. "If we can cripple their leadership, we may have a chance to turn the tide." Lyra, now fully integrated into the Nova Horizon's crew, closed her eyes and reached out with her telepathic senses. Her mind probed the Vortex fleet, seeking any weakness or vulnerability they could exploit. "There," she said, her mental voice filled with urgency. "The command ship is heavily shielded, but I can sense a fluctuation in their power core. If we can get close enough, we may be able to overload it and take them out." Captain Voss nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "Ensign Morales, plot a course through their defenses. Lieutenant Patel, coordinate with our allies to provide cover fire. And Lyra, prepare to interface with their systems when we're in range." The Nova Horizon surged forward, weaving through the chaos of the battle with daring precision. Ensign Morales guided the ship with skill and finesse, dodging enemy fire and navigating the treacherous battlefield. As they approached the command ship, the Vortex's defenses intensified, threatening to overwhelm the Nova Horizon's shields. But their allies were there, providing the cover fire they needed to push through. Lyra closed her eyes, her telepathic abilities reaching out to the command ship's systems. She could feel the pulsing of the power core, the fluctuations growing more erratic as they drew closer. "Almost there," she murmured, her mental voice strained with effort. "Just a little bit further." At that moment, the command ship's defenses faltered, a brief window of opportunity opening up. Captain Voss seized the moment, giving the order to fire. The Nova Horizon's weapons lanced out, striking the command ship's power core with pinpoint accuracy. For a heartbeat, nothing happened, and then the core exploded in a blinding flash of light, consuming the command ship in a ball of fire. The Vortex fleet, thrown into disarray by the loss of their leadership, began to falter. The Allied ships pressed their advantage, tearing through the enemy's ranks with renewed ferocity. Amidst the chaos, a hail came through on the Nova Horizon's comms. It was Zaren, his voice filled with a mix of triumph and urgency. "We've intercepted a transmission from the Vortex High Command. They're planning to unleash a new weapon, one that could wipe out entire star systems. We need to stop them before it's too late." Captain Voss's eyes widened, the gravity of the situation sinking in. "Do we know where this weapon is being developed?" Zaren nodded, his image flickering on the view screen. "We've traced the transmission to a secret Vortex research facility on the edge of the galaxy. If we can infiltrate it and destroy the weapon, we may be able to end this war once and for all." The crew of the Nova Horizon exchanged glances, the weight of the task before them settling on their shoulders. They had come so far and fought so hard, but the biggest challenge was yet to come. Lyra's mental voice cut through the tense silence. "We can do this. Together. We've already shown that the Vortex are not invincible. We have the strength, the courage, and the unity to stop them and bring peace to the galaxy." Captain Voss nodded, her resolve hardening. Lyra is right. We've come too far to turn back now. Set a course for the Vortex Research Facility. It's time to end this, once and for all. As the Nova Horizon and its allies made their way to the secret facility, the crew steeled themselves for the final confrontation. They knew the risks, the sacrifices that might be required of them. But they also knew that they were fighting for something greater than themselves, for the freedom and future of all the species threatened by the Vortex's tyranny. In that moment, they were more than just a crew, more than just allies. They were a family, bound by a shared purpose and an unbreakable resolve. And together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their quest for justice and peace. A new dawn. The Vortex Research Facility loomed before them, a massive, foreboding structure bristling with defenses. The Nova Horizon and its allies had fought their way through the outer perimeter, but the real challenge lay ahead. Captain Voss, Lyra, and a small strike team prepared to infiltrate the facility, their faces set with grim determination. They knew that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. As they made their way through the labyrinthine corridors of the facility, they encountered fierce resistance from the Vortex forces, but they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure was not an option. Finally, they reached the heart of the facility, the chamber where the Vortex's terrible new weapon was being developed. The strike team engaged the enemy in a desperate battle, fighting with everything they had to buy Lyra and Captain Voss the time they needed. Lyra interfaced with the weapon's control systems, her telepathic abilities straining as she sought to disable it. But the Vortex had anticipated this, and the system was heavily fortified against intrusion. "I can't shut it down," Lyra cried, her mental voice filled with despair. "The Vortex have locked me out." Captain Voss looked around, her eyes settling on the weapon's power core. A desperate plan formed in her mind. "Lyra, can you overload the core? Cause it to self-destruct?" Lyra's eyes widened, understanding dawning on her face. "Yes, but the explosion will be massive. We might not make it out in time." Captain Voss met her gaze, a sad smile on her lips. "Then that's a risk we'll have to take. For the sake of the galaxy, for the sake of all those we've lost, and all those we're fighting to protect." Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes. With a final, determined effort, she poured her energy into the core, pushing it beyond its limits. The chamber began to shake, alarms blaring as the core destabilized. "Run," Captain Voss shouted, urging the strike team to evacuate. They raced through the crumbling corridors, dodging falling debris and explosions as the facility tore itself apart around them. In the final moments, as they leaped into the waiting Nova Horizon, the research facility erupted in a blinding flash of light, the Vortex's weapon, and the heart of their war machine consumed in the inferno. The shockwave from the explosion rippled out across the galaxy, a signal to all those who had suffered under the Vortex's rule that their oppressors had been defeated. Cheers of joy and relief echoed from every corner of the cosmos as the news spread. In the aftermath, the crew of the Nova Horizon and their allies set about the task of rebuilding and healing. Lyra, no longer the last of her kind, worked tirelessly to restore the Zephyrian civilization and forge new bonds of friendship and cooperation with the other species. The Nova Horizon, now a symbol of hope and unity, continued its mission of exploration and diplomacy, helping to usher in a new era of peace and understanding. And Captain Voss, standing on the bridge of her ship, looked out at the stars with a sense of pride and purpose. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, not just as individuals, but as a family forged in the heat of battle, bound by love and sacrifice. As the Nova Horizon set forth on its next adventure, Voss knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. For in the end, it was not the strength of their weapons or the power of their technology that had saved the galaxy. It was the strength of their spirit, the power of their unity. And with that knowledge, they sailed forth into the endless expanse of space, ready to embrace the new dawn that awaited them all.